Hey everyone, today I'm making a very late and likely very awful guide on how to beat Elden Ring. Now, I'm sure most of you have already played and beat this game before, but for any of you who haven't and found this video, I'm going to show you how to do it. Now, just for efficiency purposes, I am going to be doing this in New Game Plus, and I'm also just going to be covering the main quests with a few variations here and there. I'll go into some detail of how to fight the bosses, but don't expect it to be amazing. It's just how I beat them. But for the most part, it's just going to be a guide on how to get from the start to the finish. So you're going to spawn in the Chapel of Anticipation, and right as you spawn in, there's going to be an item on your right that you have to pick up to get out the door. Once you pick it up, just open the door up and head down the main path. And that is going to lead you to your first boss, actually, the Grafted Scion. Now, I did kill this dude, but you do not have to. You can actually just jump off the side of the map, because you're meant to die to him. Even if you manage to beat him, you'll just fall to your death anyway, and you'll just go straight into the cutscene. You're going to wake up in this cave. Just go through the main path and up the elevator, and that's going to take you to your first area, Limgrave. You'll talk to this guy, Vare.
Oh, yeah. Come to the of course you have. Unfortunately for you,
The bastard's going to call you maidenless,
you are maidenless.
and you'll be on your way. Follow the path up through Limgrave to Stormhill and rest at Grace. This is going to prompt your talk with your new maiden, Melina.
I offer you an accord.
She's our means of leveling up, and you'll also get the Spirit Steed, Torrent. He'll help you travel a lot better than on foot.
Share them with me.
After you chat with Melina, it's then off to your first boss, Margit the Fell Omen. Now, this guy's a pretty tough first boss, even I'm still shit at him. He delays his attacks just long enough for you to panic and mistime a dodge. If you're struggling too much, you can summon this dude, Sorcerer Rogier. He'll tank some hits for you so you can get some damage in. The best thing for Margit is to just keep retrying and learning the timing of his attacks, and just taking that extra second to watch his swings. And eventually, he'll go down and your first boss is dead. He'll drop you a talisman pouch, which is quite handy. Then you'll rest at a Grace, and Melina will take you to the Round Table Hold, which is the medulla of Elden Ring. This is where you can upgrade your weapons and spirit summons, and buy materials from different NPCs. Then it's on to Stormvale Castle, where we're going to fight our first Shardbearer and kinda optional boss. I say optional for a reason, but we'll get to that later. Talk to this fella, and he will ask you to take the side path. For the sake of the video, I'm taking the main path, so just follow along the path that I take here. Eventually, you'll make it up to this Grace in this sort of armory thingy, just outside the Fogwall of Godric the Grafted.
I command thee. I am the Lord of all that is golden.
Now, Godric is by far much easier than Margit. He delays his attacks in a similar way that Margit does, and it can be dangerous, but they are a lot easier to anticipate and get out of the way in time. If you are having trouble, there is a room on the run-up to Godric with an NPC in it. That's Nefeli Lu. Exhaust her dialogue and you can now summon her at the Fog Wall. He has a lot of openings, one of the better ones being here, when he does this storm, tornado, stomp thing. When he starts winding it up, get as close as you can without being hit. He'll then roll and jump into the air and slam down. It's super easy to dodge and gives you a big window to attack. The cool thing about Godric is, he's a two-phase boss. Once you get him half health, he'll make a funny noise. Then he'll chop his arm off, fist a dragon, and start shitting fire everywhere. At the start of his second phase, he will always do this move, where he sprays fire side to side. Run straight at him and get past his arm, and he can't do shit. This is a great chance to just wail on him. His second phase is more or less the same as his first, just a little bit more burny. Be cautious of his fire and attack where you can, and Godric will go down. Congrats, you just got your first Great Rune. Now you're in Liurnia of the Lakes. This is where I'll deviate a little bit. I said Godric was a semi-optional boss because technically the first main story area is Lanedale, the royal capital. But to get into Lanedale, you need 2 Great Runes, and Godric is the easiest and most accessible. Now, there's 4 Great Runes available to you before the capital, one being Godric, and I'll cover them all. The first one I'm covering is right here in Liurnia. We're going to be heading to the Academy of Rhea Lucaria. So now you're going to be heading down further into Liurnia, and to the Lascial ruins. Right up the end here, there's going to be a portal guarded by a royal revenant, and it's going to take you to the gate of Rhea Lucaria. Now, to get in, you need a key, the Academy Glintstone key. So you're going to want to follow this path down to the right here. And eventually, you'll come face to face with this big ugly fuck, Smarag. Just run past him and pick up the key, and now you can go into Hogwarts. Now, this place is a bit of a bastard. These glintstone sorcerers can be brutal, but just make your way through the path I take here to sit at this grace. From here, run past all these glintstone bastards to this fog wall. Here is our first boss of Liurnia, the Red Wolf of Radagon. This guy hits hard and fast, but he has fuck all health. He's a glass cannon. He will constantly back off and cast this glintstone sword thingy that shoots at you. But the best chance to attack him is when he does this big jump with a sword. He'll land on the ground and give you a decent opening for damage. Other than that, your best bet is to just use rolling attacks and watch out for his sorcery and you'll beat him. Now, getting to this next area can be a bit of a cunt. Just follow along here. You've got a little jump here, dodge this ball, get parried by this asshole, and now you can fight Renala, the Queen of the Full Moon.
Little Calva, I'll soon birth thee anew, a sweeting, fresh and pure.
Renala is another two-phase boss, and there's not much to say about her first phase. She'll be strung up in this big shield and you'll have to find her students with a golden glow around them and hit them to break it. After 3 times, she'll come down and then you can hit her. Repeat it for as many times as you need and she'll begin her phase 2.
Of the last queen of Caria, and the majesty of the night she conjureth.
Similarly to Godric, she will always start phase 2 with this laser move. If you run straight at her and into her model, it won't hit you and you can get some hits on her. She staggers really easy, but she likes to jump away after a few hits and cast some sorcery. It's pretty easy to dodge. When you get her about half health, she'll start summoning. She can summon one of 4 things: a giant, a dragon, a pack of wolves, or a bloodhound knight. You can either kill them or wait them out, as they will disappear. Just keep closing the gap and dodging her sorcery, and you'll beat her. And that's your second great rune.
Weave thy night into being. Is it thy to become?
You will then unlock the ability to rebirth and change your stats, if you have a level tier. And now, you can progress to the capital. But first, I'm going to show you the other 2 shard bearers, and this time, we are on our way to Caelid. Our next shard bearer is in the Caelid Wilds, in the southeast corner of the region. You need to get to Redmane Castle to access this boss, but first, we need to trigger the boss fight, and there's 2 ways of doing that. The first is to progress Rani's questline, but it's not the main quest, so we'll be doing the other way, and that's getting to the Altus Plateau. Now there's a couple of ways of getting there, and I'll cover them both. The first is to use the Grand Lift of Dectus, and to do that, we need to get the Dectus Medallion, which is split into 2 halves. The first half is in Limgrave, in a chest in Fort Height. The second is in Caelid, in a chest in Fort Faroth. Once you've got both halves, you can then make your way to the Grand Lift of Dectus and head up to the Altus Plateau. The second way of getting to the plateau is by going through the ruin-strewn precipice, which is a cave in Leonia, just next to the Dectus Lift. Just follow the lake northeast and you'll find it. It's not too hard, just make your way through the cave and past all the bats and shit, and you'll come to a boss arena, where you'll be fighting Magma Worm Makar. You can summon Great Horned Tragoth for this fight if you find it too difficult. Now, there's not a lot to say about Makar and just magma worms in general. They don't do a whole lot. They've got this one move where they breathe magma and lunge forward a few times, and that can be irritating and a little tough to dodge. But other than that, they just kind of walk around and be fat and do a couple of really slow swings. Now, Makar kind of has a phase 2 here, where he breathes magma on his sword, but I almost killed him too quickly, so I stopped to let you guys look at it. He shouldn't take you too long, and with that, you can take this elevator and you're in the Altus Plateau. Sit at a grace, and now you can make your way back to Redmane Castle to participate in the Radahn Festival. Take this teleporter into Redmane Castle and talk to this guy up here. Go into the back of the castle and take the elevator down to this teleporter. Now, you're ready to fight Starscourge Radahn.
Before we begin, allow me to paint you the full picture. General Radahn is cursed ever to wander. Eaten from the inside by Melania's scarlet rot, his wits are long gone. Now he gathers the corpses of former friends and foes alike, gorging on them like a dog.
Radahn is one of my favourite fights in this game. You can use your horse and summon like 7 or 8 NPCs to help you out. He'll start the fight by shooting arrows at you as you close the gap. And he'll pull out his swords when you get close. You can let the NPCs take aggro here and get tons of damage off. When you take a bit of his health off, he'll slam his swords into the ground and then pull them up to start his gravity magic. It's all pretty slow though, so you shouldn't have too much trouble dodging it. I was lucky enough to get a stagger on him here, but usually at half health, he'll begin his phase transition. He'll jump into the air and come crashing back down in a big explosion. Don't get hit by this, because it fucking hits hard. Most all of his moves are different during this phase, but he was low enough here that he just went down. With that, our third shard bearer is dead. With 3 shard bearers now off the list, it's time for our final one before we head to the capital. So now we'll be on our way to Mount Gelmir, the Volcano Manor. Like the Altus Plateau, there's a couple ways to get there, and I'm going to show you 2 of them that are both very easy. The first way I'm showing you is by starting the first little bit of a quest line, so we need to talk to an NPC named Raya. Head back to the Laskyar ruins in Leonia. If you got the map along the way, you should see a telescope near the ruins with a structure next to it. In that structure is our friend Raya.
It's rather my mistress. Could I ask that thug only if you've... Oh, to bless a thug, please.
Exhaust her dialogue and she'll ask you to get her necklace back. Now head over to the Boiled Prawn Shack. It's just a short ride to the northwest, and talk to this guy. He'll eventually tell you to buy the necklace for 1,000 runes. Once you've got it, head back to Raya and give her the necklace. You'll then receive the Volcano Manor invitation. Now that you have an invitation, head back to the Altus Plateau, to where you came up from the deck to slip. Raya will be waiting there, so do some premarital hand-holding. And now, you're in the Volcano Manor. The other way of getting here is arguably easier. For that, we need to head back to Hogwarts. Go to the schoolhouse classroom side of Grace. From here, follow my path to this elevator, and it will take you down to an abductive virgin. Get grabbed by it, and you'll get teleported to the Volcano Manor. From here, follow my path and work your way up to the bridge and activate it. If you didn't use the Abductor Virgin, just make your way through the Volcano Manor Legacy Dungeon and you'll eventually reach the exact same spot. Once you're here, lucky you get to fight a Godskin Noble. Nah, he's not that bad. He can be a bit tedious because he delays some big hits, but other times he's fast. Just roll an attack between and you'll be fine. Once he's about half health, he'll go to phase 2. He bloats up and starts rolling. This attack sucks. Try and wedge a pillar between yourself and the noble, and he should roll into it and stay there. After a few seconds, he'll stop, and now his attacks will hit a lot harder and faster. Be cautious of his belly attacks and his rolling, and after a while, you should take him out. And before you say anything, no, he didn't fucking kill me. Now, just follow along the rest of the way. Be careful not to get bodied by these snake guys. And you'll reach this portal, and be teleported to the audience pathway. It's now time for the God-devouring serpent. As soon as you enter the arena, there's going to be a weapon on your left. That's the Serpent Hunter. See, this is a gimmick fight. And I'm just going to let the weapon speak for itself here. And surprise, this is a Two-Face boss. Who'd have guessed? Now I said this place had a Shardbearer. Well, it's time to meet Rykard, the Lord of Blasphemy. Now, since this is a gimmick fight, there's not a lot to this guy. He attacks pretty slow and has a couple flashy moves, like his Rancor attack, but you should be able to kill him quick enough with this weapon that it shouldn't really matter. And I'll give you a little hint. The Serpent Hunter's Ash of War, Great Serpent Hunt, the first hit of it will always stagger Rykard. except obviously if he's in an important animation. All in all, this guy's pretty easy, and you should have no problem taking him down in style. And that's 4 shard bearers gone. That means it's time to go to the capital. Head back to the Altus Plateau and follow the big highway up towards the Erd Tree. Take the path that I do. Once you get to this place, if you ever wanted to fight him again, Margit is going to spawn. But you don't have to fight him. If you choose to kill him, he'll drop you a stamina talisman, but you can just run past him. At this point, you'll be on to your next boss, the Draconic Tree Sentinel. This guy can be pretty annoying, but only if you play it stupid. If you stay close, his attacks are quite easy to dodge, but if you get too far away, he'll shoot fireballs at you and punish you for it. At some point, he'll start augmenting his attacks with lightning, and it hits really fucking hard. But just stay close and whittle his health down and you'll be fine. Now, you're in the capital. Congratulations. I remember the first time I played this game, the capital was such a piece of shit to navigate and I had absolutely zero fucking clue as to where I was meant to go. So, to avoid that, I'm gonna hold your hand and help you cross the road. Once again, follow my path, and it'll get you where you need to go. After you climb this big ass tree branch, it's then on to our next boss, Godfrey, the first Elden Lord. Except now, it's his Piss Ghost version. This guy may seem scary, but he's pretty easy if you play it right. He likes to do this ground stomp that's notoriously a roll catcher, so instead, jump it and hit him. He can sometimes do long combos that are hard to tell if they're over or not, so I tend to weave in a few roll attacks mid-combo and then get my bigger hits off when he's done. If you get too far away, he might jump and throw his axe at you, and then dash to where the axe landed. It's a super telegraphed move, and you can hit him afterwards. It may take a bit to get used to his combos, but after a few tries, you'll kill the Piss Ghost and get another talisman pouch. Also, if you want this cool lightning spear weapon, here's how you get it. Now that the Piss Man is dead, it's time for another boss fight. And it's also another Shard Bearer, and one of the coolest fights in the game. It's time to fight Morgott, the Omen King.
What is thy business with these thrones? Ah, Godric the Golden. The twin prodigies, Mikola and Melania. General Radahn. Praetor Rykard. Luna Princess Rani. Willful traitors, all. Thy kind are all of a piece. Pillagers, emboldened by the flame of ambition. Have it writ upon thy meager grave. Felled by King Morgoth, last of all kings.
I just want to preface this fight by saying that there are two things to help you with this fight. The first is a summon. You can actually summon Melina for this fight, and she's quite helpful. She has a nice little heal and will take aggro for you. The second thing is an item, Margit's Shackle, which is sold by Patches, an NPC in the Murkwater Cave in Limgrave. If by this point you haven't already gotten the Shackle, Patches will be dead. But you can get this bell bearing and give it to the Twin Maiden Husks to purchase Margit's Shackle for 5,000 runes. Now, what this shackle does is bind Morgoth to the ground for a few seconds, and gives you a big opportunity for damage. Now, I won't lie, I love this fight, but I am fucking awful at it. Like, really bad. So I swapped to a bleed weapon, because I'm a big bitch. After he goes below half health, he will phase transition and explode with a lot of gravy. So, keep your distance. His attacks are now imbued with a higher blood loss build-up and hit very hard. He also has a grab. Dodge it. He has very long combos and will string both melee and ranged attacks together for big damage. He also has a mixture of both slow and fast attacks, so I find dodging against this guy to be a bit difficult. But keep trying and you'll get used to the timing. I think this was my 5th or so attempt, but we got there in the end. And no matter how I beat this guy, it always feels really sloppy, but that's just me. Now that you've folded Morgoth, go up to the Erd Tree and come back down to the Grace. Melina will talk to you and tell you that you need to find another way into the Erd Tree, and it will give you the Rolled Medallion. With that, we need to head over to the Grand Lift of Rolled. There'll be a mark on your map. Take the medallion there and you'll come to the Forbidden Lands. It's a straight path that will take you to the Rolled Lift. Hoist your medallion, and you're in the mountaintops of the Giants. Now, this area is huge, judging by the fact that we are only here for one main story boss, so I'm just going to be heading straight there, but there are a few good places around here to explore if you want to. If not, follow my path, and it will take you where we need to go. The only story boss here in the mountaintops is the fire giant. Now, I would strongly suggest using a weapon with bleed on it, and you'll see why. This motherfucker has a lot of health. Despite being a large man, he is quite agile, and sometimes rolls away from you. But his hitbox is so far fucked that it will in fact hit you no matter where you are. Just stay under him and hit his leg, and dodge his big swings, and you'll get him to phase 2. After he burns his foot, he'll immediately go into this attack, where he puts his hands on the ground and shoots fire upwards. This is a great opportunity for you to hit his hands and get damage off. If you have bleed, you can just stand underneath him and hit his stump until he bleeds, and the big bastard will go down. Now, make your way up to the forge and rest at the grace. Talk to Melina, and commit a cardinal sin.
This world and
Now strap in for one of the coolest cutscenes ever.
O Erd tree, you shall burn. Burn for the sake of the new Lord. Thank you for guiding me here. The one who walks alongside flame shall one day meet the road of destined death. Goodbye.
After your maiden burns herself, You will then wake up in Ohio. Now, this place can and will be tricky to navigate, since there are a lot of ways of getting about and different sections to explore, but I'll just be taking you through the way I think is the best. You'll run into a lot of these beastmen around Farum Azula, but you can just dodge through them and run towards the Graces. Just be prepared for them to follow you in. Once you've made it about halfway through, it'll be time for our first boss of Farum Azula, the one that everyone hates, the Godskin Duo. Okay, now my recording fucked up here and didn't record my game sound, so I'm just going to play the Godskin theme. These guys are really not as bad as people make them out to be. Souls players just hate gank fights, which is understandable. But these dudes aren't that bad. You can separate them quite easily, and plus, you already know how to fight a noble. You'll want to focus on one at a time, and I chose the Apostle, as he is a lot more mid to long range than the noble is, and I didn't want him alive while I fought the fat man. They like to throw a ball of black flame occasionally, and they're actually programmed to do it when you use an Estus, so keep that in mind. One thing people like to do for this fight is use sleep pots, as the Godskins are very vulnerable to it. Just sleep one and fight the other. When one dies, after a bit, they'll stop to spawn in their friend again. They'll put an arm in the air and start chanting, and you can hit them a fair bit during this, so capitalize on it. Also, when one of them dies, you can hit their corpse for more easy damage, and if you're lucky, a blood loss. That's actually how I got the killing blow on mine. Just take it slow and focus on one at a time and you'll be okay, especially since the Apostle is shitloads easier than the Noble. Now that I have game sound recording again, it's time to do more running. Head down the staircase and past more beastmen. You'll get to this little area with a Crucible Knight, and these dumb, fucking annoying birds. Holy mother fuck, I hate them so much. I'm okay. Oh right, there's a dragon too. Just run past these little fucks and keep going past the dragon and up towards an elevator to our final grace. After you've gotten to the grace, head up towards the bridge. There'll be a draconic tree sentinel here like the one outside the capital, but you don't have to kill this one. Go through the fog wall to the beast clergyman. If on your journey you've encountered Deathroot, this guy might look a bit familiar to you. He's quite fast and jumps around a bit, but he has a fair few openings after his attacks. He's a really big glass cannon though, so do your best to both dodge his ranged attacks and melee attacks, and watch out for his flashy AoE moves that hit really hard. Once you get him to half health, the real fight begins. Get ready for Malekith, the Black Blade.
Become my blade once more.
Malekith is very unique. He takes jumping around a lot to a whole new level. His attacks apply a burn effect that will reduce your maximum health and tick your health down by a lot. He also has a big run ending move, Destined Death. This attack is fucked. He either spins his blade around or does a couple flips, then shoves it into the ground, then unleashes a big after effect attack that will just about one hit you. If the attack doesn't, the burn he applies will. This fight has a useful tool, the Blasphemous Claw, dropped by Banal. Take this path, and kill Banal when he invades you, and he'll drop the claw. What it does is kind of parry Malekith. When his blade glows yellow, use it just as he's about to hit you, and it will blind him. But be careful, because he still swings his sword a bit. It's got a really weird timing. You can hit the parry, but still get hit with the damage itself. I only used it once before deciding to just brute force him. Dodge his big flashy moves, hit where you can, and look out for Destined Death, and you'll take him out. This earns you the Rune of Death that he was guarding, and you'll receive a cutscene.
The rune of death is unbound. And the lands between are shrouded by death's dark fate. But the flames will also burn the impenetrable thorns. Farewell it is then. You'll be Elden Lord yet.
This place look familiar? We're back in Lanedale, except this time it's covered in ash, and we're going straight into our next boss. Get ready, it's the head tarnish of the Round Table Hold.
Sir Gideon Othmere!
Now, if you're gonna get stuck on any boss, it's this guy. Alright, now that Gideon's dead, it's home stretch time, baby. If there's any items or gear you want to get, now's the time to do it, because we're going straight to Chadfrey, the first Protein Lord.
It's been a long while, Morgoth. Long and hard didst thou fight, tarnished warrior, spurned by the grace of gold. Be assured the Elden Ring resteth close at hand. Alas, I am returned. To be granted audience once more. Upon my name as Godfrey, the first Elden Lord.
This guy is fucking awesome. I seriously cannot get enough of this fight. It's simple enough and is obviously quite similar to his Piss Ghost form we saw back in the Royal Capital. He's got a few extra combos, like here, where he swings his axe around and into the ground. You want to keep an eye on if he puts his foot on his axe or not. If he doesn't, you're cool. If he does, immediately dodge again, because he'll do this big shockwave thing and then an even bigger one in a straight line AoE. But that's pretty easy to get out of. Once you take about a quarter of his health off, his stomp turns into a shockwave that covers the entire arena, but it's super easy to jump over. Just do pretty much the same thing as before. Jump attack his stomp and use roll attacks where you can, and of course, when you get him to half health, you'll meet Horror Lou, the biggest Chad of them all.
That will be all. Thou didst me good service, Siraj. I've given thee courtesy enough.
He is pretty damn scary. He's always going to start with one of his grabs. Yes, one of his grabs. He's got multiple. So here I just took the chance to back off and heal. His grabs are really telegraphed, so you should have no problem dodging them. It's when he starts darting towards you and unleashing the hands that's scary.
Go crazy! Ah! Go stupid! Ah!
Same deal with Godfrey. When he loses a quarter health, his stomps turn into shockwaves. He'll start doing this big jump and slam. When he lands, dodge. Then dodge again, as he'll do a follow-up. And then run the fuck out of there, because he'll rip the ground up and do a lot of damage. Just dance around his grabs and hit where you can leave it in, and the first Elden Lord will fall. Okay, for real now, if you need any items or gear, now's your last chance. It's final boss time. We are heading into the Erd Tree for a battle with Radagon of the Golden Order. Now this dude is really annoying sometimes. He can lock you in some bullshit spam, like right here. I didn't even touch him and this fool just fucked me. Other times you can catch him in a pretty good rhythm. The reason I'm using this weapon is because this boss is immune to most status effects and has a very high poise, and the giant crusher with heavy affinity on it has an S rank in strength scaling. Now pair that with the Lion's Claw Ash of War and it makes for a really hard hitting weapon. I managed to get a poise break on him and that set me up for the rest of the fight. He likes to spam ranged attacks and add really dumb explosions to the end of his attacks, and it can get really annoying. But just take your time here and really make sure you dodge all of his really big AoE and aftershocks. Otherwise, you'll just get annihilated. But eventually, you'll take Radagon down. Oh, and I hope you didn't think that was it. Say hello to our final boss, the Elden Beast. Now for a beast of his size, he's surprisingly pretty easy, and this fight looks and sounds amazing. I hope you enjoy running though, because you'll be doing a lot of it. He's always going to start by spewing holy fire down, so that's a very good chance to do some damage. The Elden Beast excels at doing range damage, and will take any opportunity to do so. So just when you think you've closed the gap, he'll run away again and shoot some more stuff at you. He has a really big variety of moves that can sometimes overlap each other and really keep you on edge. He'll eventually do this move, Elden Stars. It's notorious for ending the fight, because it eats away at your health and it follows you around, so you've got to try and outrun it and make sure it doesn't explode on you and you'll be okay. Like Radagon, it's immune to all status effects and also has a very high poise. I managed to get a stagger on him as well, and it allowed me to get a ton of damage on him. Just keep running the marathon and beat him up when you get close. And just like that, our final boss is dead. Now all that's left to do is touch the statue of Marika and you'll get your final cutscene.
The fallen leaves tell a story of how a tarnished became Elden Lord. In our home, across the fog, the lands between. Our seed will look back upon us and recall an age of fracture.
And that's it. There you go. You've beat Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. Good job. I hope this guide helped you along the way, and if it did, please make sure to leave a like and a comment, and give us a cheeky sub as well, because this video took a fucking long time to make. Thanks everyone for watching. I know it was a long video, but I appreciate it if you stuck around till the end. I had a lot of fun making this video. I really enjoyed taking the time to just kind of learn the bosses again, even though I did die a few times to some of them. It was good fun. Thanks again for watching, and take it easy.